Hello, 大家好, I'm Grace. If you have been learning Chinese for a while, you might have seen many verbs having 起 and 起来 as their complements, like 想起、看不起、收起来、加起来, etc. If you have been wondering what they mean and how to use them, this is the perfect video for you. Today we will learn around 20 Chinese phrases with directional complements 起 and 起来. Now let's get started. In one of my previous videos, I've talked about why we add complements to the verbs. In English, there are a lot of phrasal verbs like to come up with, to look over, or to clean up. Small words are added to the main verbs to express a more specific meaning. Chinese similarly often adds a complement to the main verb to add more information. For example, 做 is to do something, and 做到 is to do and achieve something. So here, adding the complement 到 gives you more information. Now let's learn some phrases that have 起 as their complements. The original meaning of 起 is to get up, to stand up. So the direction is leaving from a lower place and moving upwards. When used as a complement, 起 has different meanings extended from its original definition. The first one is 想起. 想起. 想 means to think, and you can look at 起 here as when you're thinking, one of your memories rise up into your mind. So 想起 means to recall something or to think of someone from the past. We often use it in this structure, 让 someone 想起, 让 someone 想起, to remind someone of something. For example, 这首歌让我想起我高中的生活。这首歌让我想起我高中的生活。This song reminds me of my high school days. You might also hear people say 想起来, 想起来. They are similar, but compared to 想起, 想起来 emphasizes more on the realization of the action, so it might appear without an object. However, for 想起, it's usually followed by an object. So if there is an object, we usually use 想起. For example, 我突然想起我的高中老师。我突然想起我的高中老师。But we don't say 我突然想起来我的高中老师。If there isn't an object, we would say 我终于想起来了。我终于想起来了。But we don't say 我终于想起了。Another similar phrase is 回想起. 回想起. 回想 is to think back, and 起 here is the same. Because of the action, thinking back, one of your memories rises up into your mind. So 回想起 is to think back on. For example, 回想起去年做的那个决定，我现在还是觉得很后悔。回想起去年做的那个决定，我现在还是觉得很后悔。Thinking back on the decision that I made last year, I still feel regret. And you can also say 回想起来, 回想起来. But just as saying 想起来, we don't usually add an object afterwards. So in English, 回想起来 can be translated into in retrospect. For instance, 现在回想起来，你那时候的反应真好笑。现在回想起来，你那时候的反应真好笑。In retrospect, your reaction at the time was so funny. The next one is 买得起. 买得起. 买 is to buy. 得起 here means to be able to bear the cost. So 买得起 is can afford, meaning that you have enough money to buy something. For example, 不是每个人都买得起房子。不是每个人都买得起房子。Not everyone can afford a house. The opposite of 买得起 is 买不起。买不起。买不起 means cannot afford. For instance, 他虽然买不起名牌的衣服，但是他不在意。他虽然买不起名牌的衣服，但是他不在意。 Although she can't afford bringing them clothes, she doesn't care. Next, 看不起看不起看 is to look, to see, and 看不起 means to look down on. For example, 他常常看不起别人，所以大家都不想跟他相处。他常常看不起别人，所以大家都不想跟他相处。He often looks down on people, so no one wants to be around him. The opposite of 看不起 is 看得起看得起看得起 means to have respect for, or to not look down on. For example, 谢谢你看得起我谢谢你看得起我 Thank you for not looking down on me. Before moving on, I'd like to introduce you to a useful starting tool. Personally, when I'm learning English, I always feel like sometimes when I want to know the definition of a word, I'd have to grab my phone and open up the dictionary app and then type in the word, which is kind of inconvenient and time-consuming. So I'm really glad to know that there are tools like 有道 Dictionary Pen 3, where you can just use the pen to scan words to find out their meanings, their pinyin, and you can also listen to their pronunciations.
预防
Which is very useful when learning to read Chinese characters. Another function I like is you can save the words and phrases to review for later. This pen works on scanning both simplified and traditional Chinese characters, but the examples it gives are in simplified characters. I'm also very impressed that this pen provides the stroke order of Chinese characters, so you can improve your Chinese writing too. This pen not only works on Chinese, if you're learning Spanish, you can switch the language and use it to learn Spanish as well. If you'd like to make your language learning more effective, you can get the pen on either Amazon or their website. I've put a link in the description below. And don't forget to use my discount code GraceYD25 to get 25% off today. The next group of phrases I want to introduce has 起来 as their complements. 起来 and 起 have similar meanings. 起来 also means leaving from a lower place and moving upwards. For a verb plus 起 phrase, you will usually see an object attached to it. For example, 他终于想起我的名字了。他终于想起我的名字了。However, for a verb plus 起来 phrase, we don't usually attach an object afterwards. If there is an object, oftentimes we would use the 把 construction and put the object before the verb phrase. For instance, 他终于把我的名字想起来了。他终于把我的名字想起来了。When there is an object and verb plus 起来 means the action starts and continues, then we insert the object between 起 and 来. For example, 他一回家就看起电视来了。他一回家就看起电视来了。When used as a complement, 起来 also has some other meanings that originate from its original definition. Let's see some examples. The first phrase is 加起来加起来加 means to add, and here 起来 indicates that things are being gathered together. So 加起来 means to add up to or to add together. Through the action 加, you gather things or numbers together. For example, 这些加起来多少钱？这些加起来多少钱？ How much does this add up to? 我们两个人加起来力气是很大的。我们两个人加起来力气是很大的。The combined strength of the two of us is very strong. When 起来 is used to indicate that things are being gathered together, there are some other phrases like 包起来包起来叠起来叠起来累积起来累积起来团结起来团结起来组装起来组装起来 The next one with 起来 as its complement is 关起来关起来关起来 has two different meanings. The first one is to close to completion. 关 means to close, and here 起来 has the same meaning as before. It indicates that things are being gathered together. For example, you can say 他把门关起来了。他把门关起来了。He closed the door. In this case, because of the action 关 to close, the door and its frame come together. 起来。The other meaning of 关起来 is to lock someone away or to put behind bars. For example, 就算你弟弟很调皮，他也不应该被关起来。就算你弟弟很调皮，他也不应该被关起来。Even if your brother is naughty, he still shouldn't be locked away. The next one is 藏起来。藏起来。藏 means to hide, and 起来 here expresses that because of the action, things are moved from somewhere visible to an invisible place. For example, you can say 弟弟很调皮，常常把妈妈的手机藏起来。弟弟很调皮，常常把妈妈的手机藏起来。My brother is naughty. He often hides my mom's phone from her. If a person is hiding from someone or something, we would say 躲起来，躲起来。For instance, 他一看到他的前女友就躲起来了。他一看到他的前女友就躲起来了。He hid himself once he saw his ex-girlfriend. Next, 收起来，收起来。收 has the meaning of to put away, and 起来 here has a similar meaning with before. It indicates that because of the action, things are moved from a visible place to an invisible place. For example, 要吃晚饭了，把玩具收起来。要吃晚饭了，把玩具收起来。It's time for dinner. Put your toys away. The next one is 看起来，看起来。看起来 can be used to give your thoughts on something by assessing through how it seems or looks. And 看起来 can be placed before or after the subject. When you put this phrase before the subject, like 看起来我们这个活动办得很成功。看起来我们这个活动办得很成功。It seems like the event we hosted was a success. It's expressing your thoughts on something based on how the whole situation appears to you. However, if you put the phrase after the subject, then you focus on the subject specifically and assess how that appears to you. For example, 今天的月亮看起来又大又亮。今天的月亮看起来又大又亮。The moon today looks so big and bright. The final one for today is 听起来。听起来。听起来 is similar to 看起来. It can be used to give your thoughts on something by assessing how it sounds to you. For example, 我觉得这个想法听起来不错。我觉得这个想法听起来不错。This idea sounds good to me. Okay, that's all for today. If you found today's video useful to you, please share it with your Chinese learning groups or communities so more people can benefit from this, and also motivate me to keep making more content for you. 还有，如果你喜欢今天的影片，别忘记按赞和订阅哦。Last but not least, if you'd like to learn some daily Mandarin expressions, check out my Instagram, Grace Mandarin. 那我们就下次见喽，拜拜。